Late one afternoon, Gordon was backing down onto the express, slightly slower than usual. He had just returned from his 5-yearly service at the works earlier that day, and some of his parts were still a bit stiff. He was looking forward to running them in. As he was being coupled up, Gordon glanced over at the next platform, expecting to see Duck. The Great Western engine usually took a passenger run from Knapford around this time, but, to Gordon's surprise, it was Donald waiting at the other platform with Duck's 2 motor coaches. "What are you doing here, Donald?" Gordon asked. "Duck's feeling a wee bit under the weather. He hasn't been right for most of the day now." Gordon frowned. Duck wasn't an engine who got sick easily. "What happened to him?" "I think he took on some bad water from that tower at Holthrow Station. Even so, he was insisting on taking this train too." "That's understandable," Gordon replied. Donald cast a suspicious look in his direction. "Exactly what are you getting at, Gordon?" he asked. "I know Duck's motto, 2 ways of doing things and all that. You're not a Great Western engine, Donald." "Aye, but Dougie and I have picked up a thing or 2. "About trucks, maybe. But when was the last time you pulled passenger trains?" "It has been a wee while since I took passengers," Donald admitted cautiously. "Exactly," Gordon replied. "That new blue paint of yours doesn't make you passenger engines. What passengers need is a smooth express engine, like me, not rough goods engines like you 2. Donald was outraged. "I'll have you ken we're quite capable of taking passengers, you sprinting sassneck. Dougie and I are versatile, unlike a certain Pacific I'd care to mention." "Excuse me?" Gordon asked, surprised. "You heard what I said. I've scarcely seen you pulling anything other than passengers, and Dougie could easily say the same." The guard's whistle rang out. Donald quickly and smoothly steamed away before Gordon had a chance to reply. Donald was still in a foul temper when he reached the Callan sheds later that night. Duck was resting there, feeling a bit better than before. "Thanks for taking my passengers, Donald," Duck said. "Dinna fuss yourself, Duck. I'm happy to help you." But he didn't sound that happy, and Duck looked over curiously. "Something get under your paint, Donald?" he asked. "Aye. Would you say Dougie and I have trouble handling passengers?" Duck blinked, slightly surprised by the question. "No, not at all. Why did you think I let you take mine this afternoon?" "Well, would you mind telling that gallivant in blue sausage?" "What did Gordon say to you?" Douglas asked. Donald recounted his earlier conversation with the express engine. "Gordon had no right to say that," Duck said angrily. "I only insisted on taking my passenger train because I knew you 2 were busy." "Thank you," Donald replied, and an uncomfortable silence fell over the sheds. He couldn't help wishing for a chance to put Gordon in his place, but if wishes were fishes, there'd be several flying kippers per day. The next morning, the Fat Controller came to see Gordon while he was waiting with the express. "Gordon, there's something I need to discuss with you," the Fat Controller began. "I've been speaking to the controller of the London Midland region on the other railway. He's noticed that you always seem to reach Barrow about 10 minutes before the express is scheduled to arrive." "I usually try to do that, sir," Gordon replied. "In that case, I'd like to move the scheduled time forward by 10 minutes. I trust you can keep up with this?" "Of course, sir," Gordon replied. "Good, I'll make the arrangements," replied the Fat Controller. He turned and headed for his office, and Gordon departed with the express. He was soon thundering along the line, trying to reach Barrow even earlier than he had before. After all, he had a reputation to keep up. With this new schedule, he'd have to work even harder. "Take it easy, Gordon," called his driver, but Gordon didn't reply. He was well on the way to beating his best time. But as he passed through Elsbridge, Gordon's left side started feeling strange. "Driver, something's wrong. We should slow down," Gordon called. but it was too late. A dull thud sounded out from his left wheels. Suddenly, Gordon found himself riding roughly, bouncing along the tracks. With each revolution, his wheels hammered the rails. His driver quickly shut off steam and applied the emergency brakes. Once the train had stopped, Gordon's driver and fireman inspected him and the train. The guard set detonators on the track, then headed up to the next station, Kelsthorpe Road, to raise the alarm. "It looks like the left suspension spring on your second driving axle is gone, Gordon." "Gone? How can it be gone? It's a brand new spring." "It must have had some sort of manufacturing defect, like a hairline fracture," speculated his driver. "The coaches are fine, but the passengers are a bit shaken up. You damaged the track during all that rocking and rolling you did, Gordon," said his fireman. "How badly damaged?" Gordon asked. He knew he should try to get the train to the next station, but he wouldn't be able to move it if the tracks were too badly damaged. "We should be able to move the train, if it's done slowly," said Gordon's fireman. "But I don't think you'll be able to do it, Gordon," put in his driver. "Your left running gear is very badly damaged. We're going to have to remove your coupling and piston rods just to get you out of the way." Gordon was dismayed. This was the last thing he needed. As his crew set to work, Gordon hoped that the Scottish twins wouldn't hear about this. The guard soon returned with Eric, who was quickly coupled up to Gordon. Slowly and carefully, Eric began moving the express engine and his train towards Kelsthorpe Road. "Thank you, Eric," Gordon said, as the tank engine helped him onto one of the sidings. "You're welcome," Eric replied. "I hope you get better soon." "So do I," Gordon said. "I'm sorry I can't help with the express, but I have to take some goods to Rolf's castle." "That's all right. You've been very helpful already," Gordon said, reassuring the other engine. Once Eric had left, Gordon's driver and fireman gave him a thorough inspection. "It's as bad as we thought, Gordon," said his driver. "You'll have to go back to the works." "Blast!" Gordon exclaimed angrily. "I've already been cooped up in there for the last 3 days." A moment later, another thought struck him. "What about the passengers?" he asked. "The station master's already sent for a replacement engine," replied his driver. "I hope they get here soon." "We shouldn't have to wait too long. I can hear a train coming now." As the sound of the other train drew closer, Gordon frowned. Surely the replacement engine for the express wouldn't have arrived this quickly. A moment later, he realized he was actually hearing the sound of 2 engines chuffing. Gordon gasped as recognition dawned. "Oh no," he groaned. A few minutes later, Donald and Douglas steamed by, and were flagged down by the station master. Donald looked over at Gordon. "Surely it wasn't ye who roughed up the tracks back there, Gordon? Not a smooth express engine like you." "I'm afraid so," Gordon replied. "Could one of you take the express on?" The twins smiled mischievously. "I'm not quite sure about that. What do you think, Dougie?" "Oh, I dinna ken, Donald. After all, those passengers deserve a smooth passenger engine, not the rough mixed traffic engines like us," Douglas replied, with a sly grin. "Aye, you've a point there. I heard Alice was being sent up to take over. She should be here in a wee while." "These passengers have already been waiting a wee while," Gordon replied. He did have a duty to them, after all, and didn't want to see them delayed longer than necessary. The twins decided their joke had gone on for long enough. "Dinna fash yourself, Gordon. "We were just having a wee joke," Donald replied as he was uncoupled from Douglas. He quickly backed down onto the waiting express coaches. "Thank you," Gordon said. "I'm sorry about what I said yesterday." "Thank you," replied the twins. A moment later, Donald whistled twice, then pulled out smoothly with the express. Douglas then shunted Gordon onto the front of his goods train. "We wouldn't have left the passengers in the lurch, Gordon," he said. "Yes, but I was out of line," Gordon replied. "You were nearly off the line too, judging by the state of those rails back there," Douglas joked. Both engines chuckled, then they set off.